What if the magic we know today isn't fantasy but forbidden knowledge gifted by angels? Who fell from heaven? In the shadows of ancient scrolls and sacred scripture lies a story too dangerous for the world to embrace, a tale of heavenly beings who defied God and paid the ultimate price. But they didn't vanish into the abyss. Instead, they descended to earth, bearing secrets, forbidden secrets, from the Book of Enoch to the ruins of lost civilizations. Whispers of these fallen angels persist, beings who allegedly taught humanity the art of war, the crafting of enchantments, and the ways of hidden power. Is it mere myth, or a veiled history erased by time? In this video, we unravel the chilling possibility that the origins of magic aren't merely spiritual, they're celestial, and perhaps rebellious. Prepare to journey into the unknown as we explore the secret legacy of the Watchers, the seduction of forbidden knowledge, and the mysterious birth of ancient sorcery. In the beginning, there was order. The heavens above were governed by divine authority, and all beings created by God were expected to serve in harmony with His will. But even in paradise, rebellion stirred. Among the celestial host were beings of immense power and beauty, angels, created to serve and worship the Almighty. Yet, some of them, led by a desire for independence and knowledge not meant for them, defied the divine order. These are the ones known as the fallen angels, celestial beings who transgressed, who left their assigned place in heaven, and who, according to ancient texts, descended to earth bearing knowledge both wondrous and forbidden. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish apocalyptic text excluded from the canonical Bible, but revered in many early Christian and Ethiopian traditions, tells a startling story. It speaks of a group of 200 angels called the Watchers, who descended upon Mount Hermon in the days before the Great Flood. These angels, led by a chief named Semyaza, made a pact to take human women as wives and bear children with them. The offspring of this union were not ordinary humans, they were the Nephilim, giants of incredible strength and corruption. But the sin of the Watchers was not merely lust or defiance. According to Enoch, they taught humanity secret knowledge, skills, arts, and sciences that had been hidden from mortals by divine decree. Azazel, one of their leaders, is said to have taught men how to make weapons of war, swords, knives, and shields, while teaching women the art of adornment, cosmetics, and enchantments. Other angels revealed astrology, the movement of the stars, divination, and root-cutting, the earliest forms of magic and occultism. These teachings were not gifts of enlightenment. They were transgressions, violations of the divine boundaries that had kept certain knowledge reserved for celestial beings. The Book of Enoch suggests that such forbidden revelations corrupted mankind, accelerating violence, arrogance, and sin. It's no coincidence that these events immediately precede the biblical account of the flood in Genesis. According to this narrative, God had to cleanse the earth because of the destructive consequences of this knowledge. In the canonical Bible, particularly in Genesis 6:1-4, there is a cryptic reference to the sons of God coming unto the daughters of men and producing offspring. Though brief, this passage aligns with the fuller account in Enoch, suggesting that this mysterious union between divine beings and humans was known to the early authors of Scripture. Throughout other ancient writings and traditions, from Mesopotamian mythology to Greek legends, there are echoes of this same story. tales of gods descending to earth, mingling with mortals, and imparting wisdom or technology are widespread. Could these be distorted memories of the same celestial rebellion? The Bible, the Book of Enoch, and other ancient texts point to a world where not all knowledge was meant to be discovered, where certain truths, if acquired improperly, came at a cost. This is the foundation of the forbidden knowledge the fallen angels brought with them. It was power wrapped in temptation, revelation clothed in rebellion. What drove these angels to defy God? Was it love for humanity? A desire to uplift? Or was it pride, a belief that they, too, should be worshipped as gods among men? Whatever the motive, their fall marked a turning point not just in the heavenly realm, but in the history of Earth itself. Their descent became a cosmic rupture, a moment when the sacred veil between heaven and earth was torn, and the hidden things of the spirit world were poured into the fragile hands of humankind. In Part 2, we will explore how this forbidden knowledge may have influenced the rise of ancient civilizations, how magic, science, and power, seeded by beings from the heavens, may have shaped the course of human history in ways still felt today. Fallen angels in ancient texts and their rebellion. To understand the origin of magic through the lens of fallen angels, we must delve into the ancient texts that first documented their existence. Chief among them is the Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish religious work, not included in the canonical Bible, but widely influential in early Christian and Jewish mystical thought. In its haunting verses, we are introduced to the Watchers, a group of angels tasked with observing humanity. But these beings did far more than observe. They crossed a divine line. They descended to earth, took human wives, and taught humanity what was forbidden. The Book of Enoch, particularly in the section known as the Book of the Watchers, names these rebellious angels, most notably Azazel and Semyaza, as culprits in spreading corrupted wisdom. Semyaza is often cited as the leader of the 200 angels who defied heaven's command. Azazel, meanwhile, is blamed for teaching men how to forge swords, shields, and armor, in essence, how to make war. But their transgressions didn't stop at weapons. These fallen angels reveal secrets of enchantments, astrology, herbology, sorcery, and the use of cosmetics to manipulate appearance, knowledge that was both alluring and destructive. According to the text, these teachings led to the corruption of mankind and ultimately the Great Flood, God's reset on a tainted world. The Bible echoes this theme, albeit more cryptically. In Genesis 6:1-4, we read, "The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them." These sons of God are widely interpreted by ancient sources and later traditions as fallen angels, beings who, in desiring what was not theirs to take, initiated a chain of events that shook both heaven and earth. Their fall wasn't merely a moral failure. It was an act of rebellion rooted in pride and a desire for autonomy. Lucifer, often viewed as the highest of all created beings before his rebellion, embodies this perfectly. Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28 use poetic and symbolic language to describe a being cast from heaven for attempting to rise above God. Though interpretations vary, Many see this as a veiled reference to Lucifer's fall. When we connect these dots, Lucifer's rebellion, the Watcher's descent, and the resulting spread of forbidden knowledge, a compelling narrative emerges that the first sin of the angels was not only pride but the theft of knowledge meant only for the divine. This ancient wisdom, this forbidden knowledge, did not vanish. It seeped into the world through generations. It became myth. It became magic. And though the names of the angels were cast into shadow, the consequences of their rebellion lived on, in the legends of gods, in the symbols of power etched on ancient stones, and in the secret rituals whispered throughout time. In the ancient Mesopotamian and Sumerian records, we find similar echoes. Deities and star beings descend to Earth to instruct humanity in agriculture, astrology, metallurgy, and medicine. Many of the very skills attributed to the Watchers. Are these merely coincidental parallels, or do they reflect a deeper, older memory shared by civilizations scattered across continents and time? This is the paradox of fallen angels, beings who defied heaven, yet in doing so, gave rise to knowledge. Were they villains, as tradition paints them, or misunderstood teachers punished for revealing too much too soon? This question lies at the heart of every myth, every occult practice, and every attempt to reach beyond the veil. As humanity's story progressed, the lingering presence of the fallen angels seemed to echo across the practices and beliefs of ancient cultures. From the earliest civilizations, Sumer, Babylon, Egypt, to the mysteries held within the remote highlands of Peru and the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, traces of strange knowledge appear. This knowledge, cloaked in mystery, spoke not only of power, but of communion with forces beyond the natural world. Here, the origins of magic as we know it begin to take shape not merely as superstition or ritual, but as something imparted, inherited, and perhaps corrupted. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers did more than teach men the movements of the stars or the properties of roots and stones. They bestowed upon humanity a forbidden legacy, a knowledge that was never meant to be ours. The text mentions how Azazel taught men to forge swords and knives, how Semyaza revealed enchantments and root cuttings. These were not just technical skills, they were tools for manipulation, for altering natural order, for channeling power outside of divine will. This marks the first recorded moment when magic, in the hands of humans, became a weapon, a whisper of rebellion against the Creator. Anthropologists and theologians alike have long debated the roots of magic, some calling it an evolutionary response to fear and the unknown, others viewing it as the earliest form of religion. But within the framework of fallen angelic influence, magic becomes something more deliberate. It becomes a deliberate transgression, a gift from those who had once dwelt in heaven, now seeking to sway mankind from its ordained path. Consider the rituals of the ancient Egyptians. Their Book of the Dead contains elaborate spells meant to navigate the afterlife, uttered in precise tones, with movements and symbols charged with power. Who taught them this precision? Who gave them the language of the gods, if not divine or fallen beings? In Mesopotamia, the Akkadian incantations preserved in cuneiform speak of summoning spirits, binding demons, and healing through secret words. In India, the Atharva Veda preserves chants to ward off evil, influence minds, and protect warriors in battle. Across the world, we see similar pattern-structured systems of secret knowledge passed down, guarded by priesthoods or shamans. Were these systems the echoes of a single origin? A corrupted inheritance from beings once divine? Magic was not just about control over nature. It was a mirror of divine authority. In the garden, it was the serpent who promised Eve forbidden knowledge. That same promise persists in every magical tradition, that through knowledge, one can transcend human limits, command spirits, bend reality. This desire is not inherently evil, but its pursuit outside divine guidance often leads to destruction. The story of Babel is another example. Though not typically viewed through the lens of magic, the attempt to build a tower to heaven, a structure that would unite humanity and pierce the skies, can be interpreted as a form of spiritual rebellion, a collective ritual of defiance. God's reaction was not passive. He intervened directly. Language was confounded. The project collapsed. Could the builders have been guided by remnants of that forbidden knowledge? Could the architecture, the chants, the rituals used to unite men have come from those same fallen ones? From a theological perspective, magic without divine sanction is essentially theft, seizing power not given, invoking names not blessed, and summoning forces that operate in a domain God warned mankind against. This doesn't negate all spiritual practice, but it sets a clear line. Some knowledge, though real, is not safe. Even the New Testament echoes this theme. In Acts 8, Simon the magician is rebuked by Peter for thinking he could by the gift of the Holy Spirit. In Acts 19, sorcerers in Ephesus burn their books after hearing the gospel, renouncing what they once held sacred. These weren't parlor tricks. They were real forces, now revealed as corrupt imitations of divine power. So where does this leave us? The origins of magic are not simply human innovation. They are, perhaps, the dark inheritance of a celestial rebellion. What began as wisdom from heaven was twisted into a path of pride and separation. And though the rituals and symbols have evolved, the core temptation remains: to gain knowledge that was not meant to be ours, and to use it for power, not purpose. In the end, the question is not whether magic exists, but who gave it, and why. The forbidden arts, how fallen angels taught magic to mankind. The mysteries surrounding the fallen angels becomes even more intriguing when we examine the actual teachings they allegedly passed down to humanity. In the Book of Enoch, the leader of the Watchers, Azazel, is specifically mentioned as teaching humans the making of swords and knives, and shields and breastplates, while other angels taught sorcery, enchantments, astrology, and the knowledge of herbs and roots. This raises a provocative question. Were the earliest forms of magic, alchemy, and divination gifts of divine origin twisted and corrupted? These teachings were not mere tricks or illusions, but, according to these texts, profound insights into the fabric of the natural and supernatural worlds. The Watchers bestowed upon humankind knowledge that was beyond their appointed time, accelerating human development in areas like metallurgy, warfare, beautification such as the use of cosmetics, and more troublingly, the manipulation of spiritual forces. What was forbidden wasn't just knowledge itself, it was the empowerment it granted to those unprepared for its moral consequences. This echoes the story of the Garden of Eden, where knowledge, the fruit of the tree, was both the gift and the downfall. The forbidden teachings of the angels parallel that ancient story, further supporting the idea that mankind was not meant to handle certain divine truths. Before a designated time, the knowledge of the angels disrupted the divine order, and with it came violence, sorcery, and confusion upon the earth. It's possible that this forbidden wisdom laid the foundation for the magical systems of ancient civilizations. Babylonian astrology, Egyptian necromancy, the Hermetic teachings of Alexandria, and even early Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah carry echoes of this lost angelic knowledge. These systems contain rituals and symbols that seem older than civilization itself, mystical diagrams that speak to the movement of celestial bodies, the power of names, the manipulation of unseen forces. Was this knowledge inherently evil? Perhaps not. But in the hands of a corrupt humanity, or in the mouths of angels who had rebelled, what was once divine became dark. Just as nuclear energy can be used for electricity or destruction, so too could this sacred knowledge be weaponized or revered. Thus, magic, in its purest form, may not be evil, but the source and the intention behind it matter deeply. And so, throughout history, we see magic both feared and revered. Ancient kings sought out seers and magicians. Religious leaders condemned sorcery. Books of spells were burned, while secret societies guarded arcane truths. What all of this points to is not merely myth, but the lasting memory of an encounter between human and divine, between obedience and rebellion. These teachings, this forbidden knowledge, may not be entirely lost. Whispers of it survive in the texts of grimoires, in folklore, and even in modern occult practices. While we cannot prove the exact origins, the consistency of these themes across continents and millennia strongly suggests a single, shadowy source. Could it be that what we call magic today is the echo of a divine language taught once, long ago, by beings who were not meant to speak? If so, we are not merely studying superstition. We are glimpsing a fragment of the cosmic story, a story of rebellion, of knowledge, of consequences, and that story is far from over. As the ancient world grew, so did humanity's fascination with the knowledge bestowed by the Watchers. Magic, once a silent whisper in the wind, began to roar like a storm. It was no longer just a means of understanding the hidden forces of nature. It was transformed into a tool, a weapon, and ultimately a path to power. This was no accident. The knowledge that descended from the heavens had unintended or perhaps deliberate consequences. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the art of enchantment flourished. The Sumerians had their own gods and spirits, but buried within their incantations and rituals were practices eerily reminiscent of the teachings of the Watchers. Clay tablets detailed the use of plants, metals, and symbols to heal, to curse, to bind. Some of the inscriptions invoke spirits not known in the realm of men, but whispered in dreams, names that echo the hierarchy of the fallen: Azazel, Semyaza, and Armoros. These were not mere gods of myth. They were the shadows of a rebellion to ancient to date, now resurrected in ceremony. Egypt, too, bore the mark of forbidden knowledge. The priests who stood in the great temples of Ra and Osiris possessed knowledge not easily acquired by mortals. The Book of the Dead, one of the most mystifying texts of antiquity, served not only as a guide for the afterlife but as a manual for the manipulation of unseen forces. The rituals contained therein rites for protection, for transformation, for invoking divine entities may well have descended from a time when angels still walked among men. The precision, the language, the symbols they suggest a source beyond human invention. But it was not just healing or transformation that the forbidden arts offered. In the hands of rulers, warriors, and secret orders, magic was molded into control. In Babylon, sorcerers held sway over kings. In Persia, the Magi, yes, the very ones who later sought the Christ child, originated from traditions steeped in celestial teachings, astrology, and alchemy. There is little doubt that among their ranks were those who claimed a lineage of divine knowledge, passed from beings who had once known the courts of heaven. And this is where the narrative takes a darker turn. The more this knowledge was exploited, the more corrupted it became. The very nature of divine wisdom is that it is meant to be in harmony with the will of the Creator. But torn from that harmony, knowledge can become deadly. The same incantation that could call down rain could be twisted to call down destruction. The same potion that could heal could be reworked to kill. The same sigils that opened doors to angelic realms could be inverted to summon the demonic. It is here that we must confront a chilling question. Were the Watchers those fallen angels, innocent teachers misunderstood, or cunning beings who intentionally seeded mankind with tools of self-destructs? The Book of Enoch hints at this when it states that Azazel taught men how to make weapons of war. Swords, daggers, breastplates, tools not just for survival, but for conquest. And for women, he taught the use of adornment, of paints, and cosmetics, which Enoch links to seduction, vanity, and the corruption of purity. These lessons were not arbitrary. They altered the course of history. They ignited jealousy, lust, greed, and bloodshed. What was once the pursuit of divine wisdom had mutated into sorcery, necromancy, and the invocation of powers never meant for human hands. This, perhaps, is what provoked the flood, not just the sin of humanity, but the perversion of heavenly knowledge. The Creator, seeing the earth defiled, sent the deluge to wipe clean what had been corrupted. But not all was washed away. Across the post-flood world, echoes of this knowledge persisted. In Greece, the figure of Prometheus who stole fire from the gods and gave it to man echoes the story of the Watchers. He, too, was punished for his defiance. In India, the Vedic texts speak of divine beings Devis and Asuras who battled over knowledge and power. In the Americas, myths of star people and sky gods descending to teach mortals are carved into stone. Even in the esoteric traditions of Europe, in the grimoires of medieval sorcerers, the names of the Watchers appear: secret societies, Templars, Rosicrucians, and later, the Illuminati often claimed access to forbidden knowledge, some tracing their wisdom to ancient angelic sources. And what of today? Modernity has dressed up ancient magic in new clothes: technology, science, artificial intelligence. But the hunger for hidden knowledge remains. We speak now of unlocking the code of life, manipulating genetics, controlling minds through media, exploring dimensions beyond space and time. We no longer call it magic, but is it any different? Some theorists argue that the ancient Watchers have never truly left, that their influence, though diluted, persists, through ideologies, through secret texts, through whispered inspiration in the minds of inventors, rulers, and artists, that the same forces who once taught mankind the secrets of the stars may still be offering knowledge today, but as always, at a price. It is a tale as old as time. Knowledge without wisdom leads to destruction. So where does that leave us? The path of magic, the pursuit of secret knowledge, has always been a double-edged sword. It can enlighten, or it can enslave. It can heal, or it can harm. It can lift a soul to the heavens, or drag it into the abyss. The question is not merely whether the knowledge is forbidden, but why. Was it forbidden because it was dangerous? Because it could grant humanity power we were never meant to hold? Or was it forbidden because it unveiled too much truth about the cosmos, about the nature of angels and gods, about our own divine potential? Perhaps both. As we continue to uncover ancient tablets, decode lost scripts, and delve deeper into quantum realms, we must ask ourselves, are we the new watchers? Will we use our knowledge to build or to destroy, to heal or to dominate? The forbidden flame has been lit. What we do with it will determine whether we rise or fall. But what exactly did the Watchers teach? The Book of Enoch lists a catalogue of forbidden knowledge secrets that were never meant for humanity's grasp. Azazel, one of the chief leaders among the fallen, is said to have taught men to forge weapons of war swords, knives, shields, and breastplates, introducing not just knowledge, but violence. Women, on the other hand, were taught enchantments, root-cutting, and the beautification of eyelids, a veiled reference to early forms of witchcraft, medicine, and seductive manipulation. This dual stream of knowledge destruction and seduction was not neutral. It had intent. The fallen angels, cast from heaven, offered humanity gifts not to elevate them, but to corrupt them. The knowledge that should have been pure became twisted, dark, and devastating. Magic, once a divine principle reserved for the heavenly, was now passed down through broken hands, and with this knowledge came consequence. The world began to change. Ancient civilizations rose with sudden bursts of architectural prowess and spiritual sophistication mysteriously advanced for their time. Monuments like the pyramids, ziggurats, and megalithic structures may carry echoes of this fallen wisdom. Cultures across the globe share legends of beings from the sky star gods, sky watchers, or divine messengers who descended to teach mankind forbidden truths. Coincidence, or a fractured memory of the Watchers' fall? The children of the Watchers, Nephilim and hybrid bloodlines. But the teachings weren't the only legacy the Watchers left behind. Their union with human women birthed something far more terrifying, the Nephilim. These giants were not merely large in stature, but immense in power and influence, according to ancient texts. They devoured everything in sight: beasts, birds, even mankind. And when the earth could no longer sustain them, they turned on each other. The Nephilim were abominations, neither fully divine nor entirely human. They represented a breach in the natural order, a mixing of dimensions. Their very existence was a rebellion against God's created structure. And as the flood waters rose in Noah's day, it was not only to cleanse the earth of wicked humanity, but to eradicate these unnatural offspring and the perverted knowledge that birthed them. But did they all perish? Some scholars and traditions believe that remnants of the Nephilim bloodline survived hidden in secret societies, passed through ancient royal lineages, or buried beneath the symbols of mystery schools and occult orders. The idea that fallen angels, descendants walk among us is both chilling and persistent in esoteric traditions.